Hey everyone, Temptation here again with another claw guide for you all. I know many of you have followed my claw guide that I created, talking a little bit about Call of Duty. At that time it was Cold War, and that was the game that I was playing a lot. That was probably my most popular claw guide. And I promised everyone that we would do one for Modern Warfare 2 2022 that just got released here at the recording of this video about a week ago. So I wanted to do a quick update about the claw guide, quick how-to. I'm not going to go in full depth because I do already have a video about that, but we'll quickly go over it. Then we'll get into some claw settings, some things I'd probably recommend playing Modern Warfare 2 2022. And then we'll just have some gameplay so you can see it in action, including some claw cam. So a quick recap of how you would do claw or perform claw on a controller layout like this. And I first want to say you can do claw. You can grip the controller with a claw style on any layout. This is a symmetrical layout with our joysticks here on the same plane here. If you use an Xbox controller or a Switch type controller where this joystick is here and the pad is down here, you can still do it. In my opinion, it's just probably a little bit easier on a controller like this. So if you're a PC player, my recommendation is to use a DualShock type layout, but that is totally up to you. Does not matter. I've played claw on multiple different types of layouts, but I'll use this one today as reference. So there is a right way to claw and a wrong way to claw. In my original video discussed a little bit about that. Now don't get me wrong, you can play the wrong way and probably be pretty successful, but in my opinion the long-term effects of it hurting mainly your right index finger are probably pretty high. Playing the wrong way. So the wrong way would be like this, where your hand is too much over the controller. You can see my middle finger here is very deep. I'm hitting buttons with the middle of the middle finger. And then that puts my entire index finger on the controller. Not too hard to hit these buttons here, like square and X, for example, but hitting this, there's a lot of crunching, a lot of tension right here in your finger. So for the people that are saying claw hurts or this part of your finger hurts, look down. You're probably gripping it in a way that's a little too deep. Okay, it would be very in the palm of your hand. This is not the ideal way to do this. My opinion, if you want to make sure you're doing this right, you take your right thumb, put it right in the middle of the joystick, put the rest of the hand on it like this. You would center your index finger in the middle of pad, right thumb in the middle of the right joystick, and then lay the rest on. It should look just like this. You'll notice it's very light feeling in your hand. You're barely gripping the back of the controller with your ring finger and your pinky on your right hand. It should look just like this. That way you can hit circle, very easy, or the rightmost button on your controller, easy. You can see there's not as much crunching going on with my right finger as opposed to the wrong way, which you could see a ton of crunching, right? There's probably like not even an inch in here. Whereas if I do it the right way, you can see I have plenty of space. Plenty of space. No problems hitting circle or your rightmost button on your controller. And you can see I would use the bumpers and the triggers with more of the tip of my thumb, maybe a little crease between, or not the thumb, but you would see I use more of the tip of my middle finger, or maybe just in the crease here, than it is down over here. So this is the way it should look. This allows you to press buttons all very easy. So this is it. This is as simple as it is. You're learning your right pointer finger, middle of the buttons, your right thumb in the middle of the joystick, and then grab the rest of the controller. Just like this. Very simple. This is the right way to do this. So if you're the one that's saying my finger hurts, my right pointer finger hurts, it's because you're most likely too deep on the controller and crunching this finger to hit this button here. And if you're somebody that plays in Call of Duty, for example, a default layout where this is your slide function or crouch, and you're going to be pressing it a lot, this hurts, in my opinion. This way, no. I could press that all day, no problem. For those of you that are questioning whether or not you can use control freaks, I obviously do. That's preference. I've played plenty of time without them. You can claw just as well on either. Control freaks or non, Does not matter. I am not sponsored by Control Freaks by any means. I'm just an advocate. Been playing Call of Duty since Call of Duty 3 came out. I've used these for years on the original Xbox 360 controller, the Xbox One, on my PlayStation controller. This is what I prefer. I personally think it's a little bit more accurate doing it this way, but all preference. Doesn't matter. So that's the way to do it. That's my advice. Again, you could do this on a DualShock symmetrical layout. You could do this on an Xbox type layout that's asymmetrical, where the joystick is up here and the D-pad is down over here on the left side. You could do it with either layout, and I've played both layouts with no problem. This is just preference playing on the PlayStation controller. So again, quick recap. Right pointer finger, middle of the face buttons on the right. Right thumb right in the middle of the joystick. Then wrap the rest of the hand on here. And you should be able to press the right bumper and the right trigger with more of the tip / crease, first crease of your middle finger. This is how it should look. Okay. We're going to get into some Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 2022 settings. I'll go over, in my opinion, what works best for playing Claw, or at least being a new beginner, where I'd start. And then we'll get into some gameplay of how to play Claw. All right, thanks everyone. If you have any questions, comments, please feel free to drop them on the YouTube video. Please drop a like and a sub. It definitely helps out my videos and the channel more than you know. All right, everyone. We're going to go through some quick settings for Claw. Some of the things that I would recommend. So I'm going to jump right into the controller settings for Modern Warfare 2 2022. I don't need to go into graphics settings, all that stuff. If you're curious, like, just drop me a comment. I'm happy to respond, but for the most part, it's all low. I play really for FPS, not necessarily the graphic intensity of the game, and I have definitely adequate PC to play it at higher settings, but I opt to just play for FPS. I've done that for years playing competitively, so that's the way I'll leave it. So nonetheless, if you have questions on that, feel free to ask. But otherwise, let's jump right into the controller settings. If you are just learning how to play Claw, I would highly recommend that you play on Tactical. To me, that is the easiest way, mainly because that stops you from having to hit your rightmost button, which for me on Tactical would be melee. If you left a default, it would be slide. I'd rather have slide on my right joystick. I've played that way for years, and in my opinion, playing Claw that way is easiest. And I also recommend playing Tactical flipped. Flipped being, instead of firing with your right trigger or your R2 and aiming down sight with your left trigger or your L2, you flip them with the bumpers. So that means you would fire with your R1 or your right bumper and aim down sight with your L1 or your left bumper. That means your lethals and tacticals go to the rear buttons, the triggers instead. That, in my opinion, is the easiest. Reason I say that again is because if you have your hands in a proper Claw position, it allows you to fire easier with the right bumper with your middle finger instead of having to reach for the trigger in the back. People tend to struggle being able to jump and fire at the same time if they leave it on the right trigger. Whereas if it's on the right bumper, there's less of a stretch with your middle finger to the back. It's, in my opinion, again, easiest. So if you're new to Claw, I would recommend starting here, playing Tactical flipped. If you are on an Xbox layout, you could probably get away playing just Tactical and not flipped, because the triggers do feel a little bit different on that layout as opposed to like a PlayStation type controller. So I would give maybe Tactical a run if you're using an asymmetrical or an Xbox type layout. If you're using a symmetrical layout or like a DualShock layout, I would try Tactical flipped. The one unique thing, though, about this year's Call of Duty is that you can customize the button layout. For years, people have wondered, why can't I do that? I can do it in games like Fortnite. Now you can. So if you do want to change some of these buttons and you'd prefer sliding or jumping or reloading with other buttons, you can customize them to your liking. I have refrained from doing that just mainly because of comfort. I've been playing Tactical Flip for a very long time. That's the way I do it. But if you want to customize any of these buttons, go for it. So that's really the controller layout. That's the most important thing in this whole settings. Other random things, I don't play with vibration. It's distracting to me. The hit visuals on screen tell me enough, so I don't need vibration. It's just distracting. I personally play on 7.7 sensitivity, and I lowered the ADS a little bit because your turn speed's faster at 7.7. I don't use any sensitivity multipliers. I don't mess with this vertical aim access. Hold for aim down sight, automatic tack sprint, equipment behavior hold, weapon mount activation. This is one thing I do use. I need to change that, but this is one thing that I do use is prioritize interact, mainly because I've played Warzone a bit, and as you know, if you've played Warzone, you have to put a priority in being able to pick items up quickly. And by default, you have to hold to pick up items, and it's tap to reload. I don't like that, and most people that play Warzone don't either. So I would highly recommend that if you play Warzone, to change that and make it to where you can tap to pick up and hold to reload. I mirror the same behavior in Call of Duty that includes Modern Warfare 2. So that option would be prioritize interact, meaning I can tap to open doors, tap to pick up equipment, and hold to reload. So if you're looking to mirror much like Warzone, prioritize interact would be what you would want to set, and I would recommend doing so. This doesn't matter, armor plate behavior at will with Warzone, but always apply all. That means when you press and hold your square button, it would be on the PlayStation controller. It'll put all plates on instead of just one at a time. So that's it. On advanced here, target aim assist, yes. Aim assist is baked in. It's a fundamental of controller gameplay. If you're not using it, you're making your life harder. Aim assist type, default. Everyone and their mother pretty much uses dynamic aim curve. You could use standard if you want. Linear, not many people do, but it seems like dynamic is what's hot, so I use that. All the rest of this is default. Input dead zones. If you're getting stick drift, change them. Really what you should do here is put the triggers down all the way, like this, so that they fire quickly, but you'll be playing bumpers if you're playing tactical flipped, so it doesn't really matter. My left stick minimum is as low as it can go, 0, because I don't have left stick drift. My right stick minimum is 0.7 because I have just a tiny little hair of stick drift on the right side, so that's my personal preference. Again, yours are going to be different based upon your individual controller, so don't necessarily mimic mine. Auto move forward, off, tactical sprint behavior, double tap, that's irrelevant when you have auto tack sprint on. Grounded mantle, like again, all of this is default. I have not messed with any of that. So yeah, nothing else to see here. Again, the most important thing that's going to be on the controller section, other than things like aim response curve, is going to be simply the layout. That's what you want to know when it comes to playing Claw. Again, if you're playing on a symmetrical layout, dual shock type layout, I recommend starting with tactical flipped. If you're playing on an Xbox type controller, just try tactical to begin with. Yes, you can play on default because in this game, you're not sliding really. There's no slide canceling like there was in MW19 that was getting abused. You don't have to do that in this game because it doesn't do anything for you. So you're probably going to be sliding less, so if you want to play default, go for it. But I would recommend me starting here on tactical or tactical flipped. All right, let's get into some gameplay. And again, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Happy to answer them.
Securing Alpha. We have the lead. Bravo secure.
Switching mags!
Our UAV is orbiting the area.
Reloading!
Ready to deploy.
Requesting recon at my location.
Copy. UAV orbiting the AO. Recon is online.
Enemy is securing Charlie.
Tossing sticky grenade.
Be advised, UAV is exiting the AO.
Enemy UAV active.
Tagging back. Watching your six, soldier.
Enemy is taking
Contact.
Charlie. Friendly UAV on station. Friendly Charlie UAV is online.
Trophy system online.
Friendly UAV online.
Changing back. Bag's almost dry. Requesting recon flyover.
Copy that. UAV is on.
Trophy system out.
We've got them on the run. Keep it up.
Be advised, UAV is exiting the AO.
Loading.
Securing objective Alpha.